jump in and provide a little bit more information about each one of these. So this first area here is HP's Cloud Service Automation solution. So this is really that ability for the business unit to say, you know what, I need to get that test environment up and running. I need to get that development environment up and running for a specific application. So we're not just looking at, I need a server, I need that whole kind of platform up and running because I want to do testing tomorrow, right? Typically today, people are building new mobile apps or doing more web development, and so they need that stuff done on demand. And so this gives them that place where they can go and say, you know what, I need to request that. Here's the various environments that I want to select. So what's really nice with the portal, not only am I selecting, I want to have this application, but I can define what type of operating system, or I can define what type of database I want to have on that particular service, and I can have that then provisioned for me, and it'll come back and give me the status on that, and within minutes or hours, I can have that new service, that new test or development environment available, that new platform. So it really gives the end user, the business, a place similar to what they're experiencing today in the public cloud arena. So that's a real key differentiator. And as I mentioned before, the whole simplicity around this is one of the themes that Forrester was mentioning. So, to kind of give you an objective third party's view, that's one of the key reasons that they were selecting it. And we all know in today's environment when it comes to technology, it's all about keeping things simple. So I thought that's a huge statement there coming from Forrester. I also kind of alluded to this as well. Besides just having that portal, right, you want to have some form of control over that service. The public cloud providers, they need to have control as well, right? They're running a business. They've got costs that are coming in. They've got revenue coming in. They need to control those costs. And they need to and provide that service at an appropriate price point to compete. And so the same thing has to occur here in terms of IT. That they need to be able to manage those requests. They need to be able to understand the associated costs. And they need to be able to let the business unit know, here's the service level, here's your overall cost associated with that, and here's how you're utilizing the assets that we have in the overall organization. So some of that capability comes in the ability to show chargeback and show back, be able to really kind of track the overall asset management and the overall reporting of those particular services. So that's actually an opportunity for IT organizations to have a different value-added solution by having that executive reporting. You typically don't get that with the public cloud. You'll get that here as a private cloud so that the executives can see overall how much are we using our private cloud investments and what's the overall cost and benefit of that. And that's something you're not going to get when you go off and buy multiple different solutions, hodgepodge here and there from a public cloud perspective. Mike, anything you'd like to highlight here from a client service automation perspective, cloud service automation perspective?
I think you've hit them very well. Our practice run helped.
All right. Next, I just wanted to highlight that, and I mentioned this previously, some of you actually might have some cloud solutions within your environment today. HP has on their servers, and they're selling some of those with the Matrix operating system. That operating system includes some of this software to assist you in the automation of the various components and layers of cloud. So you might want to check with procurement. You might want to check with IT. They might have actually purchased some of the Matrix operating system, which then can be used by the cloud service automation, which you just mentioned, as well as can be used by the orchestration solution.
Yeah, John, this was one of the things that when we really talk about what makes HP different, and frankly what Forrester saw was that we have something called Cloud System Enterprise. So, we abbreviate that obviously as CSE, right? Cloud System Enterprise. Really, what is Cloud System Enterprise? It's the marriage of HP software with HP hardware, but still offering everything we've talked about, being open, integrations, all of that. We're taking all the software assets, embedding those with our hardware, in this case, the Matrix operating environment, and that's what CSE is. It's the fastest way to market. It allows us to integrate with past investments and forward. So, again, the ability to have a single vendor with the size and strength of HP, providing all of the private cloud offerings for you is a pretty powerful statement. So, I'm sorry to interrupt, but just wanted to put that out there.
Great, thank you. The next area and part of the, and this is actually part of the CSE suite as well, Mike mentioned to the starter suite. So you get that cloud service automation function. Obviously, you tie it into the hardware. And then you can use the orchestration function here, which has really kind of been the leader when it comes to data center automation, IT process automation. In this case, right, we want to automate the process of fill and provision and the setup of that particular service that's being requested from that service portal. So in that sense, we are able to completely automate that process. You're able to kind of track that and see within minutes when that now new service is available to be used in the organization. Also, just to kind of highlight here too, because the legacy here was around automating data centers and automating runbooks, you can also use this to actually automate and a closed loop process for any events that might pop up into the IT operations area. So if you have server outages, or heaven forbid you have an outage on your cloud service, how do I actually make sure that I remedy that? Well, I can actually tie that event right here into orchestration, and it can then re-provision, refresh, reboot, and bring that service back online, all automated with no human intervention. So that's another key focus here from an operations orchestration perspective. I mentioned before there are some very tangible spots here in the HP solution that really drive directly to the bottom line. So this is one of those key areas. By automating these various processes, I can reduce the amount of resources it takes to manage and support all my different environments in my data center. Whether it be my servers and my databases and things of that nature, I can reduce that time and effort. Doesn't necessarily mean I need to get rid of resources for that. I can actually reallocate those resources to focus on analyzing and kind of do operational analytics and really making better decisions, as well as I can use those resources to help define what are those cloud services that our organization and business units are purchasing externally today, and we can provide them with a different and better solution internally. So this is really a key area to drive a lot of tangible business benefits. And kind of a lead into that, here we're highlighting some of those customer successes and benefits from an orchestration automation perspective. So you're seeing here significant reduction in terms of the staff to handle incidents that are popping up. I mentioned those events. I can actually automate that, so I can actually save resources. Wouldn't it be great? Save resources on my help desk, and I can go build more mobile apps. I can go build more cloud services for our customer. And it's more rewarding for the resources too. From a change management perspective, we've talked about saving the time and effort when it takes to provisioning. You can do that in minutes. You can do that in hours and days versus it taking quite some time. Disaster recovery. Actually, we work together and being able to kind of put a process in place. I kind of mentioned that earlier. If that particular service goes down, i.e. your server, right, you can use automation now to bring that back up and not have that impact. So that's one example from a disaster recovery perspective. Next, I want to kind of move on and talk a little about server automation. So this, what's really unique about this particular solution is it really is not, as Mike mentioned, hypervisor dependent. So it can be across any hypervisor. And what's also good is it's across physical, not just virtual. So basically, I can use this to manage any type of server automation functions, all the way from bare metal build up on those particular servers, like we talked about before, patches, and all those type of releases that I need on my server. And also a hidden piece, Mike, here is the whole compliance area. I know that in some of our previous conversations that from your perspective, it sounds like customers aren't really taking advantage of what's going on in the compliance area and what server automation can provide. Is there any insights you can provide on that?
Yeah, I guess I'd say a couple of things there is, compliance is something that hasn't gone away, right? I think there was a time when Enron and SOX and all of that were going around where compliance was at the forefront. Today, again, just based on Mike Zuber's calendar, automation in cloud has certainly taken over sort of the lion's share. What I would tell you is that when you look at HP, you work with ResultsPositive, when you make an investment in Cloud System Enterprise, you look at the starter suite, you look at buying server automation, you're going to get compliance with it. It's not extra. It's part of the base product. So please realize while you may be taking on a cloud project, you're going to have in your hip pocket a compliance platform as well. So that's something I think that's been missing in some of the stories. But the good news is when the clients work with you, John, they're going to be able to do both automation and compliance with a single solution.
Great. Thank you, Mike. Yeah, I think that's a hidden benefit here, by giving additional tangible benefits by having some of that compliance automated, so that you don't have to spend that manual labor to do that. Some of the successes we've seen here from a server automation perspective, if we talk about healthcare here from compliance, how would you like to turn it into 2 days for compliance audit versus 32 weeks?
I would like that.
So that's probably a very good benefit. I think anyone in IT doesn't like to deal with compliance. It's perceived as busy work, as administrative work, and I think it's just something that if you can automate that, we can all focus on providing more value back to the business. From a financial perspective, we talked about before, really can drive and reduce a lot of the time needed to provision, patch, and update overall servers. So from that perspective, you're driving a lot of tangible benefits. Like I mentioned, you can reallocate those funds to really focus on what the business needs today. They need that new mobile application to compete with the competitor, right? They need that new innovation, a new way of accepting deposits for their banking customers. And so they need to spend some of those resources focused on that versus on things that can be automated. So here's some other examples here you can see success by using server automation. Next here is the database. And Mike mentioned it before, and I think this is the reason why we're a big champion of the HP suite, is the ability to not only just provision servers, but actually provision the whole platform as well as the application, i.e. the software as a service. And so there's more than just the hardware and the server. I've got to put the operating system, I've got to put the database, and I even need to put on the application as well. And so by combining server automation with database and middleware automation, I can do that. That can be a closed loop, single process by going to that service catalog and selecting what type of an application I need to have access to, and it can go through and provision that whole platform for me. And so that's a key differentiator. As you can see here, there's multiple different platforms that are supported out of the box to get you up and running very quickly. I noticed, and here again, it depends upon how big your organization might be in terms of data. We all know big data is a current big issue today. It's also an opportunity for everyone. But we all know that in some organizations they've got, they might even have 20, 30, 40 different DBAs based on the size of their organization. And we've seen that before. By now using this database automation, it can reduce the number of DBAs as a specific example. And that's creating then more value for the organization to redeploy those assets and those dollars. So in terms of the overall successes here from automating the database automation, as you can see here from 12 days to 4 hours. You can see here from 5 to 7 days to configure down to 2 hours. So basically you can almost take that whole entire database, deploy it, have it automatically configured, and almost 100% of that, probably about 90% of that, fully complete by using automation tools. Where in the past you've always been, quote unquote, been held hostage by your DBAs, feeling like they need to be involved in that process. And so now you can set up those overall templates that you would use as part of the overall automation solution. So as Mike mentioned before, the question is, how do we get there, right? It might look like it's really a scary option. How do we get there? How do we really get on this journey to providing a private cloud for our business? Because we all know they're needing it today. And so as Mike mentioned earlier, there's a lot of different paths that you can start down this private cloud automation journey. It might be simply that I want to define what our services are, and we need to put together that overall cloud service automation portal as a starting point. Or it might be, you know what, today we've got a lot of process automation issues. We need to have a good foundation first and get our shop in order so that we can then focus on providing a private cloud solution later. So we're highlighting here that there's many different places where I can start. So I can start here with traditional. I can start applying it here in the private cloud space. And I can also then tie it into a hybrid solution by, say, tapping into a managed or a public cloud. So there are multiple different paths by which you can decide are right for you and your organization based on where you are today. So it really brings up the question, where do I start and what does the journey look like? So what we've typically seen with our customers, and it's been very effective for them, is to come on site and schedule with them an on-site private cloud workshop. So based upon the scope of that workshop can be a half-day workshop, be a couple hours, or it could be a full day, depending upon what's the scope of that particular workshop. And that's really critical because it helps the organization understand and define what is private cloud for their organization, and what particular components do they already have internally, what components are they relying on publicly, and what's the hybrid solution that's needed. So that's a key starting point, because then we can clearly define together what's the goal and objective, what's the strategy, as well as then we can define what's the current opportunity. Our recommended approach here is the crawl, walk, run approach when it comes to private cloud. Yes, we'd all love to go in and do the big bang, and definitely can go after that. But from an overall adoption and usage, we think it's always best to let's focus on various chunks based on where you are today. And so what we can do as a result of those workshops, that can help us assist in putting together a roadmap. And one of the first things along that journey then is to do a technical evaluation. So typically organizations want to understand and say, okay, great, it all looks good that you can integrate with all these different open stack, open source solutions. You can do physical, you can do virtual. Let's test it out on a couple of different use cases here in our environment. And the good news is we can actually do that. We can do that within a matter of 2 or 4 days. Here again, we can have more elaborate evaluations for both of us from a time and expense perspective. I think it's best to have those in a shorter time frame, and we can definitely support you on that. And then HP's actually bundled some of their products in a quick, easy to use and to consume model, such as the Cloud System Enterprise Starter Pack that Mike was mentioning previously. And then it goes into the whole implementation, followed by incremental deployments based upon that roadmap that we do up front. So this is kind of at a high level how that journey would look. In terms of the opportunity to work with ResultsPositive and be able to achieve these business benefits and outcomes, as we mentioned before here, we can schedule the cloud workshop. That could be a specific overall, what is cloud, how can it best help you, what's going on in the industry, or we could do a specific discovery workshop for your organization, and that's where we can kind of hone in on your use cases as well as your specific roadmap. And then next is kind of more technical validations. That would be kind of the second step to come in and validate that, so then you can move on to a procurement process. You can actually get access to a free 30-day trial of the server automation virtual appliance. So you can actually access that here on the ResultsPositive store and be able to get access to that particular solution.
That 30-day trial is no joke. Server automation virtual appliance, or what I call SAVA, is something we've been working on for well over a year. It's really the backbone of the automation product. What makes it interesting and why everybody else should look at it is you can go download that 30-day trial and be using server automation inside of 4 hours. Go download the product, installs and configures in under an hour, go back to the HP Live Network, download the content for Windows and Linux, and you're off and running in under 4 hours. So it's truly a 30-day trial. A lot of the sort of heartburn folks have had around the automation platforms in the past is that it takes, weeks and months to configure it to my shop, my problems. We've taken a lot of time removing those configuration options and variables in SAVA and making it so our goal was under a day when we first put it on the board, and we actually got it down to under 4 hours. So